Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, we got, again, OTAs in full swing. Tuesday, presumably today, is the media session. We will talk about that tomorrow. Today I want to go through some of the news and notes, some of the things that have been going on, talked about, etc., etc. Some of it NFL, some of it Packers, almost all of it speculative. It's all we're dealing with these days, but I figure it's been long enough since we've had a reminder for the importance of recognizing owners are terrible. Anyone that says that the Packers are somehow at a disadvantage for not having an owner, certainly Packer fans that say that, shame on you. We haven't had an example in a while, so let's go ahead and have a little refresher, okay? Now, I promise you that, based on all the laughter in the background and everything else, most people are going to say that he's not being serious, he's just goofing around, whatever. I don't think so. Listen closely, okay? Here's Jerry Jones addressing the media in regards to a player that was arrested for a second time.
Last year he drives 100 miles an hour and has a wreck. In this, how do you conjugate all that? How do you balance those things?
Well, first of all, I'm saying that he is, which is more often the case than not. This sounds a little hollow, but he does and is maturing, and he is. What was he going, 66? Was he going 66 miles an hour?
Last year?
No, this year. So he's 34 miles an hour less than this year than he was last year. 98.66, so that's improvement.
Okay, everybody around him's laughing, which certainly makes it seem like he's a good old boy, just kind of laughing around, joking. I don't think so. I don't think he's kidding. You take out the laugh track from like one reporter in the background or two guys, nothing about what he said and the way that he said it made it seem like he was joking. The fact that he didn't want to spit it out, the fact that he wasn't laughing when the guy laughed, he wasn't even smirking, and he goes on to say, and this may sound hollow, but, like in a lot of these cases, I'm seeing growth. I'm seeing that he is maturing. That is his actual answer to the fact that the guy was arrested for getting into a wreck going 100 miles an hour, and this time got arrested for going 66. His answer is, well, that's growth. Jeez. But we need Jerry Jones because some fans want a guy that's a billionaire to recklessly throw money around at people that are overpriced because it will satiate their need to do something cool and do something big. By the way, my favorite example of this is Jerry Jones trying to trust his instinct as he tries to run up a card in the draft for Johnny Manziel, and his son has to physically rip the card out of his hand. We don't need owners acting on instinct. We need owners that employ people that know how to do their job, and we empower them to do their job and to do the right thing. Now, if they are not doing their job properly, then you got to find somebody else. But the idea that we need an owner that's going to usurp everybody else and just throw money down on stuff when we know that he doesn't know how to do the job is crazy to me. Now, you could argue that Jerry Jones has been doing this a long time, whatever, fine. But the idea that we need an owner, some guy that has a bunch of money that's going to come in to buy the team so that when the fans determine or when they get a little they get a little excited about a big name guy that's just floating around out there, they're just going to slap a couple bands on the table because we're tired of these responsible people coming in here and trying to build a cohesive team rather than going out like it's frickin' basketball and just buying somebody that's going to win all the games for us. That's crazy talk. I don't need one of these people. We need to hire football people to do football stuff. We need football people to come in and build a cohesive team. And again, if that's not Gutekunst, that's fine. Like I said, he's teetering right now. We got to see what happens with Jordan. That's massive. We got to see how the last two draft classes pan out. Last year had some real good players, but also we missed some of the early ones due to injury. If a couple of those hit and this is a good year, then he's freaking aces. If Jordan kind of doesn't do great, and Morgan isn't great, and Marshawn Lloyd isn't great, and Quay isn't great, and Golden isn't great, and Belton doesn't do much, okay, we can have that conversation. But it ain't going to be about an owner. It's going to be about Ed Policy finding a GM. The owner talk, and I know I'm talking to a very small percentage of the fan base. For the rest of you, this is just sort of a preaching in football church moment. This owner stuff is stupid. And the only good owners are owners that hire a good staff and empower that staff. They're the only good owners. The more they interject into their team, the worse they are. And if you don't believe me, go find a fan base that has an owner, like the Jets, that likes to stick his nose in places. Jets fans will tell you there's Woody and then Woody's brother. Woody's brother, when Woody left for a while, I don't know what he was doing. I think he had like a official government job or something. I don't know. He left. When his brother took over, that's when they'll tell you, like, that's when like a bunch of really good things happened. They went out and got this guy, and they did this, and it was great. And the team actually moved in the right direction. Then Woody came back, everything went straight to heck. That was Aaron Rodgers and, Devontae and all that stuff. And then, of course, he fires everybody else for making his mistakes. So consider this your bi-monthly reminder. In other news, trades apparently still going down. As far as I know, it still hasn't happened. It popped up out of nowhere, like, boom, trade's about to happen, and then just went quiet. But apparently the Philadelphia Eagles are finalizing a trade to send edge rusher Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers for a mid-round day 3, likely 4th to 7th round pick. Well, it wouldn't be likely. I guess likely day 3, 4th to 7th. If it's day 3, it's 4th through 7th. It's not really debatable. The trade could not be processed until after June 1st anyways. That doesn't mean they couldn't do it. You can do a post-June 1st designation. But either way, we're after June 1st and it still has not happened. Huff did rework his contract. The Eagles are going to absorb about $9 million of his $16 million guaranteed. 49ers will cover the remaining almost $8 million. Eagles are going to end up saving $2.4 million in 2025 cap space. They're incurring $5 million dead this year, $16.6 million dead next year. Huff is going to be reunited with Robert Saleh, former head coach with the New York Jets. I haven't heard much in Packers circles as far as, usually when things like this happen, it's, go to Kunst, you idiot, how couldn't you have got him, blah, 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 blah. The general sentiment is, this was a guy who had a breakout, career, I guess, with Robert Saleh and the Jets. He started off with the Jets. First 2 years were underwhelming. His third year, he didn't play a ton. It was kind of his breakout year. He had a 90 grade, but only played 191 snaps. 2023, he played more of a full-time role. It's still more of a part-time role, but I think he is basically a situational pass rusher. Potentially somebody that you could look to when you're talking about like Colin Oliver, a quote-unquote successful situational pass rusher type. But 2023, he had 67 pressures in 334 attempts and 10 sacks. And that was in, again, just about playing maybe half of what some of the other guys would, 481 snaps. Maybe 60%, I don't know. So then Philadelphia picks him up, and he just doesn't really play. 298 snaps, 69.7 grade, 2 sacks, 23 pressures on 190 attempts is decent. But it was kind of seen as a failed trade. And so I guess I'm guessing it's largely because everybody thinks Howie Roseman is a genius. Because the idea is Howie Roseman is doing a great job of salvaging value from a failed signing. Wait, hold on. He's being praised for paying, what was the contract here? He signed a 3-year, $51 million deal. He got 2.5 sacks and then gets traded away back to Saleh, where they are going to take a $5 million dead cap hit this year and $16 million. So whatever they paid him last year, and then $5 million this year and $17 million next year. That's what they paid for 2.5 sacks. And I'm supposed to praise Howie Roseman for this because they are likely going to pick up a day 3 pick. Well, he was able to salvage value, which is impressive considering how bad he is. Yeah. I think that still goes in the negative column when you recognize that he's the one that paid the guy. I understand that this has worked in our favor many times. Ted Thompson was considered a genius because he was in the past, and maybe even when he wasn't doing such genius stuff, every pick he made was immediately the greatest pick in the world, and it was wonderful, and it was beautiful. Like, we've been through that. The Packers are the greatest, and they're wonderful, and Aaron Rodgers is greatest and the wonderful. Like, we've been the beneficiary of this stuff, but it is just freaking gross and annoying. And this is also, by the way, why when I say things like, Howie Roseman's doing a good job, he's not the best GM, he's made a lot of mistakes. When I say stuff like that, people lose their mind. Why? Because everyone's being inundated with stuff like this, where even when they highlight a horrific failure by Howie Roseman, it's being seen as, wow, Howie Roseman is a genius. He got a day 3 pick for this guy? Wow. Wow. Everybody step back and just admire the wow. Rather than doing what they would do with almost any other GM. Especially if it's a GM that they don't like, because they do the opposite for GMs and quarterbacks and teams and owners and anything else that they don't like. If they don't like you, everything you do sucks, and everybody laughs at you. If you're a genius, then everything you do is genius. That's why Howie Roseman and the Eagles got praised all of last year through the draft, because, oh my goodness, they did it again. A person fell and they picked him up. I can't believe it. They've done it again. How do they keep... They used to do that, I think, to the Patriots. How do they do it every year? Oh my goodness, every year somebody falls right into their lap. I can't believe it. I don't know why they fell. Maybe that's a question you could ask. Or not, or just, assume that, yeah, that's a great pick. Kind of the more interesting question to me is whether or not it's actually a good pick, but we could just play that freaking game, I guess. But all that to say, things are still being worked out there. Deals are being done, or at least contemplated. We'll get to how this could potentially impact the Packers in a second. Obviously, this deal is already done, so we can't really speculate. Could the Packers get Bryce Huff? We can, however, speculate that about, wait for it, TJ Watt. Steelers star outside linebacker TJ Watt has been skipping OTAs as he awaits a long-term contract extension. He's entering the final year of his deal, per Ari Mirov. Obviously, this is where, again, Packer fans are going to come in and say, please do it. And I understand. I'm not going to be opposed to TJ Watt, but I think we have to recognize that, first of all, there is a 97% chance that this is a very basic, we're working on a contract, we're going to get a contract done. There's no reason for them to let him go. It's not like they don't have the money. I don't even know their contract situation, but who are they paying? They don't have a quarterback. They're paying nobody. They're paying a defensive line, right? Okay, well, here's your defensive lineman. By the way, some of those defensive linemen that are on there are like 900 years old, so you're not going to be paying them very much longer. So this is pretty much the only big contract you got to worry about. Mike DeFabo of The Athletic suggested that there may be a similar timeline here with to what other Steelers have had. And the Packers do this as well. The Packers kind of have that moment where they get a lot of big deals done. I don't know if it's more of a Ted Thompson thing or if we're still doing that. I haven't really seen it. Maybe we haven't had a bunch of mega contracts in a while. Kind of have, but I'm talking like Aaron Rodgers contracts. They used to come like end of preseason, around that preseason time, Apparently the Steelers operate the same way. Pat Freiermuth, Cam Hayward, they all got done around that time. Post-preseason, pre-regular season. So this may drag on for a while. There may be some sit-outs. There may be some talks and all this kind of stuff. Posturing is really all it is. And as it drags on, there's going to be more and more speculation of maybe he's not going to, do his thing. And then should we do it, this, that, or the other? The other reason I bring stuff like this up, similar to the Bryce Huff thing, is there's always an assumption of if there's any result other than the Packers got him, the Packers failed. Bryce Huff goes to the 49ers for a day 3 pick. Packers failed. You should have done it. TJ Watt signs an extension with the Steelers. Packers failed. He was sitting out. He was willing to go to other teams. He was willing to do all these things. You had an opportunity. You didn't do it. You failed. I think we need to understand that first of all, it's not that easy. This is not a supermarket where you can walk in and be like, oh, ribs are on sale. And then just throw it in your cart, and assuming you have the money for it, you can just walk out of the store with it. I don't know that there's any real ability of any team to get TJ Watt. There's also seemingly this idea that the Packers are trying and failing. Maybe they aren't trying, and maybe there's a good reason for it. Just a little thought exercise once in a while. Let's assume that every big signing isn't always the best option. Now, this isn't to say that it's impossible that something happens, but just like with all these things, we got to remember, almost all the time do they get done to stay home. There are things that are real. I mean, sitting out doesn't have to happen. It is happening. I think similar to Devontae, Watt wanted an extension last year and didn't get it, and so now they're trying to work on something, and it's like, okay, well, that's kind of doesn't make me super happy. And since they didn't do it last year, and now you have the Watt extension, it's kind of like, okay, well, there goes your hometown discount. Now you're not getting it. And so that could cause sort of an ugliness. But again, I think that just kind of, it creates sort of that tension, but it's still going to freaking get done. By the way, also should be noted, Watt did this exact same thing last time. He did a hold in. Big contentious thing, boom, got a big contract. By the way, he's turning 31 this year, so do with that what you will. All right, let's take our first break. We'll come back. We got some more Steelers/Packers speculation going on. A couple other little things that have been discussed we'll go over, and then I think we'll take some calls in the third segment. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. So I forgot to mention it in lead-in. I kind of teased it before. I might have mentioned it last night. I haven't done... well, actually, there is no last night. We're not doing Packernet After Dark. Get your calls in, by the way. Been teasing this project I've been working on, and I knew one of these times it was just going to click, and it finally did. It's still a work in progress, but I think it's at least usable now where you can check it out and be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. For those of you that are NFL draft freaks that are still interested and want to be involved in it, whatever, I'm trying to build a very cool tool. At least I think it's cool. My son's going to think it's awesome. It's going to save me a ton of work getting him all his game film and all that stuff. The website is called draftflix.com. It took me 24 hours to put this together, and when I saw, I don't even remember what did it for me. I think it was like, I keep seeing on social media where people keep doing these, like they try to rebuild sites. They're like, oh, I built my own Netflix. I'm like, why are you doing that? I don't understand. Like, just that's what the whole vibe coding thing is. Like, I just did stuff to do stuff. I'm kind of doing that, but I also want it to serve some kind of a purpose. I'm not like, oh, look, it looks just like, nah, that's stupid. But then it hit me when somebody did that. I was like, oh, what if I made my NFL draft site kind of like Netflix? So that's what I did. It's called DraftFlix, DraftFlix.com. And the main idea, it's a what you call a freemium site, so you can use it for free, or if you want to upgrade it, you can. I've got a second tier planned or a third tier, I guess. There's free, the upgraded, and then the upgraded plus that I have to work on still. But it's still in the very early stages. I don't have a ton of stuff because there isn't a ton out there. Not a lot of people are putting out 2026 draft content yet. One of the things I'm going to add is sort of a contact area. And one of the things you're going to be able to do is submit. Like if you find one, submit it, and I'll add it to the site. This will also be good for YouTube content creators because you want your stuff to get more views and whatnot. You can have the official thing. I don't care. But yeah, so that's about it. You can, I've got how many prospects? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 prospects. I wanted to get one for each position. Actually, I have more than that because I have kicker, punter, long snapper, but it's not on the main page because nobody cares. So 12, 13, 14. I've got 15 different prospects. And then for 2 of them, Arch Manning and Cade Klubnik, I have a bunch of videos. Not as much for Manning because he hasn't done as much yet. Klubnik, I've got like his entire 2024 season. If you want to watch any of his games, again, you can do it for free. One of them is all 22 because it was on YouTube and I did it. Whether or not I'm going to get any all 22 on here, I don't know. There's some weird stuff going on with all 22 that I don't fully understand, and I don't want to do things that are illegal. I'm not really sure how that works. So I'm probably just going to stick with YouTube. And if a YouTuber happens to put up an all 22, then I'll just put that one on the site. But yeah, pretty much his entire 2024 thing is on here, and then I think there might even be a non-2024 on here somewhere, like a 2022. Yeah, 2022 Week 8 against Syracuse, all 22. But I just added a browse feature so you can go in there just like on Netflix and just kind of search videos for whatever you're looking for. There's the home page, kind of like a normal home page, but instead of, action, horror, this, that, or the other, it's top prospects and then by position. As for the premium, if you're interested, you have the ability to actually take notes on the players. So you can, there's two different things. One is you can kind of create a scouting report. It's pretty basic. This is where I always got into trouble with my other ones because I had this grand vision and it's super complicated because it's like, well, everybody's different and everybody has different ways they want to do things. And so you can add your own, too complicated. So we're going to keep it simple. There's an overall grade, which is numerical, strengths, weaknesses, NFL projection, additional notes. That's it. One of the cool features, though, is that the overall grade is color-coded, and it's based on whatever your scale is. So you can have a 1 through 10 scale, you can have a 1 through 100, 1 through a billion. It will color code based on your current scale. So I thought that was kind of cool. It gives you a little bit of flexibility there. And then the other thing you can do with the premium is you can create big boards. Unlimited big boards, as many as you want. If you just want to do one 2026, if you want to do some weird ones, whatever, it will sort based on your grades. So once you put in all your notes and do all that kind of stuff, it will sort, again, based on the grades that you have. All you have to do is whenever you want to add somebody to your board, there's a little plus button on each person. Just hit the little plus and then select which board you want to add them to. And it goes right to your big board. And you've got your own. I've got a 2026 big board. It's just for testing purposes, but I've got, Drew Alar at 100, Arch Manning 98.5, Anthony Hill Jr. 92, Cade Klubnik 85, TJ Parker 68, Antonio Williams 56, and then Ruben Bain is ungraded. Let me give him a grade of 15. Just see what that looks like. Just hit save report. Boom. There you go. So I'm very excited about it. The Premium Plus that I'm planning on doing, and I'll see if I can do it, is going to be more about specific game film. So this is on a video-to-video basis, putting specific notes on videos, and then if I can, kind of timestamp stuff. So if you wanted to see, for example, Arch Manning, you can go through all the different timestamps, or say you're watching a play. I'm thinking it through in my head. I refine these as I go through and I use it. I'm like, it would have been better this way. But as of right now, the plan will be you're watching Arch Manning and you see this sort of off-platform, kind of a cool Mahomesian kind of a thing. And you're like, that was dope. And you just want to make a little note of it. You can, have a specific name for it or just call it whatever you want in the moment. You can just put Mahomes and then hit the little plus and it'll save that timestamp. And then again, ideally, when you go to your Arch Manning page, there will be a little tab here of all your saves. And you can go through and you can find all the, your stack of Mahomeses. And you can click on it, and it'll take you to that video and to that timestamp. So that'll be the upgraded tier. On top of that will be, if I can't get that done at the very least, will be the ability to just take notes on specific games, because that's one of the things I always struggle with. First of all, have I watched this one before? So I just added a marked as watched thing on here. I have that currently in the premium. I think I'm going to change that. As long as you have an account, we'll add that to the free section. But on top of the marked as watched, you'll have the ability to take notes and kind of grade the game or however you want to do it. So that's what I'll be working on today. And once I have that, I feel pretty confident. Some minor tweaks here and there. Again, I want to add a contact section so people can point out things that are broken, not working, submit videos, whatever the case may be. After that, it's going to be a lot of just trying to add content. I'm going to try to get in touch with content creators. It'd be easier to have like a little pipeline where they can just send me stuff as they do stuff, as opposed to me constantly just going back and trying to find things. But, the benefit of doing it this early is that hopefully that'll all be set by the time this actually matters. So, draftflix.com, go check it out, see what you think. And once that's set up, I'm going to work on something else. I had this plan of trying to create a new thing every day, but there's always tweaks that need to be made to my old things. All right, continuing on here. Again, the Pittsburgh Steelers, some speculation here. According to Jordan Schultz, Mr. Starbucks, The Steelers have had preliminary conversations with multiple teams about potentially adding another playmaker on offense to complement DK Metcalf, per multiple sources. Pittsburgh is believed to be motivated to get a deal done at some point, though there's still plenty of time before the season. The Steelers could have up to 12 picks in the 2026 NFL draft, so they need a receiver. They have 1 billion picks. Obviously, the speculation among Packer fans is, are they going to send Romeo? Could be, Wicks or whoever or whatever, but the consensus seems to be, could they send Romeo? Now, me being me, I tend to look at this and go, guys, chill out. Because I'm that guy that when the news comes on and says, get in your basement, there's a tornado coming, I'm going to stand outside and go, it ain't coming. Ain't no damn tornado coming. So far, I've never been wrong. I've never seen a tornado in my life. One of these days, I'll probably see a tornado and it's going to smack me in the face. And if I survive it, lesson learned. You know what I mean? But anyways, more than likely, nothing will come of this. The Steelers won't be able to really find anybody because nobody's necessarily available. But let's just assume they are trying. Do you think that there are a lot of better options out there than a guy like Romeo Doubs? I mean, if you look at the criteria, you're looking for a place where nobody's going to give up a superstar. So cross those off the list. Romeo is not a superstar. You want a player that's at least good, though. Otherwise, there's no point in even talking about it. Romeo is a good receiver. He's right in that pocket. How many teams are also loaded with receiver where they'd be willing to consider giving up a good receiver in exchange for draft capital? It'd have to be a team that, first of all, really loves draft capital, and a team that, maybe at the moment doesn't want to get rid of a guy of this caliber, but believes that in the future this person will be potentially expendable, or maybe even there's a good chance they won't be around. I can't imagine. Now, I still feel that the Packers would lean much more heavily toward we'd like to keep Romeo than we'd like to trade Romeo. But if you tried to find how many players are a better fit than Romeo Doubs, I'm guessing you couldn't find very many. In terms of in both directions, it's a fit for the Steelers, and the team also, can check all those boxes. It's not somebody that we can't get rid of, but also we're in a position where we just drafted a bunch of receivers and we have a bunch of receivers, and there was also a little bit of a dust up, which maybe caused a little bit of a rift. We're not so sure. I'm still leaning toward no way. I think the Packers need maybe isn't the right word, but as of right now, considering you don't know how things are going to pan out, you don't want to get rid of a guy like Romeo Doubs. You want to leave your options open. You don't know what's going to happen with Golden and Savion. You don't know what's going to happen necessarily with Christian. You don't know what's going to happen with Wicks and Reed. So it would be nice to let the season play out and just, allow yourself to have as many options as possible so that it's more likely we end up in a good situation. By keeping Romeo, the odds that we end up with a good wide receiver situation increases. But again, as much as it's silly to think that we would actually trade Romeo, if you just did a little thought exercise, how many people do you think would be above Romeo on the list of this would be the best trade in both directions? I can't imagine the list is very long. And then I think we'll say finally for this segment, this was kind of a little bit of a curveball here. What I was planning on reporting was this. Frank Ragnow's absence from Lions OTAs this week appears contract-related. Ragnow and linebacker Alex Anzalone were the only players not in attendance for this week's OTAs. This is for the Lions, obviously. While Anzalone has made it clear with social media posts that he's unhappy with his contract situation, it appears that Ragnow also wants a new deal. The 29-year-old center signed an extension in 2021 to make him the highest-paid center at the time. His current deal, which runs through 2026, is just fourth in average annual value among centers and has no guaranteed money remaining. Okay, so no big deal, right? Well, this just dropped right in front of my face. Ian Rappaport's sources. Lions All-Pro and Pro Bowl center Frank Ragnow, one of the game's best, has informed the team he plans to retire. That's a pretty big deal. Frank Ragnow is just 29 years old. He's always been one of those guys where he's better run blocker than pass blocker, but he is usually a very good pass blocker. The only issue there is inconsistency. But, I mean, he gave up 2 sacks. It's whatever. But I'm talking run blocking in the 90s 3 of the last 4 years. I mean, just as far as the Lions being able to do what they want to do, which is be physically imposing up front. He's up there with guys like Penei Sewell. He's not built like Penei Sewell. He's a center, but make no mistake, he is a Penei Sewell of a center. And so this is a pretty big blow. Now, the Lions, like everybody else, went out and tried to add some pieces. Maybe they kind of saw this coming because in the second round they did add Tate Radledge, but pretty wild stuff. So if we look at their offensive line as it stands right now, they've got 30, almost 31-year-old Taylor Decker on the left side. Taylor Decker, kind of more of a Packers-y left tackle. He is a real good pass blocker, pretty good run blocker. I guess that part isn't super Packers-y, but significantly better pass blocker than run blocker. But still, he's solid. He's been solid for a long time, very consistent. Last year, 78 pass blocking, 70 run blocking. Been a left tackle his entire career. But at 31, we're getting down to it. And from what I can tell, they have not really invested in any tackles outside of, Penei Sewell in 2021. But there's no plan to start looking at tackles at any point. So there's that. At left guard last year, they had Graham Glasgow primarily playing that spot. He is not a very good football player. He is now going to be moving over to right guard. But Graham Glasgow had by far his worst year. He's almost 33 years old. He's basically cooked. He is now their current right guard. He had a 49 pass blocking grade and a 60 run blocking grade. Just putrid. Okay? Keep this in mind because, again, this is all the Lions have the best offensive line in football. They're so good. Okay. Taylor Decker is solid, but he's not going to be around much longer. Graham Glasgow, their right guard, terrible. The guy that took the second most snaps was Christian Mahogany. Now, this is going to be a big question mark because he is going to be taking over full time, presumably. They still have to go through all this stuff at left guard. We don't know much about him. He ended with a 92 grade, 91 run blocking, 79 pass blocking. But he didn't play a ton of snaps. He played in one game as a left guard that was against Chicago. He gave up one hit in that game, had an 82 pass blocking, 70 run blocking. And then he played one game against Washington in the playoffs where he had a 92 run blocking grade and a 73 pass blocking grade. That's about it. So he's played in 2 games. He was great in those 2 games, but that's going to be a big question. If they got a home run with a 6th round pick, which they might have, that's going to help stem the tide a little bit in terms of these things falling apart pretty rapidly. Again, at center, presumably a massive downgrade, but we'll see if they hit a home run. Tate Radledge is going to be something to keep a big eye on as we go through training camp and whatnot for the Lions is how he's looking. Him and Miles Frazier, who they got him in the 5th round. It might not feel like you need to watch him, but again, Mahogany was a 6th round pick. Again, their right guard is bad. It's possible, honestly, Miles Frazier or somebody else could actually win that job, and maybe they would prefer that. I'm sure he's going to be given every opportunity, as well as, Mahogany might try right side, all these different things. And then, of course, on the right side, you've got Penei Sewell, one of the better in the game, certainly one of the best run-blocking offensive tackles. But if we drag this out 2 years, let's say, Taylor Decker's gone, left guard and center are question marks, right guard is a question mark, and then Penei Sewell. So you got 4 question marks in Penei Sewell. And the question marks are a 5th round Miles Frazier, 6th round Christian Mahogany, and 2nd round Tate Radledge. Going to be big questions. If those guys hit, they're in pretty good shape. They just need to come up with a plan for Taylor Decker. No big deal. If they don't, they're in trouble. Penei Sewell's not going anywhere pending any kind of injury. He's not even 25 yet. That dude is going to be a stud for a long time. But there are essentially, when you talk long term, there are, who knows? Maybe Taylor Decker can play till he's 36. Some of these guys played for a long time. But with the retirement of Frank Ragnow, who I thought had probably, 3-4 more years in him, at least 2 more years, With his retirement, as far as I'm concerned, you have 4 question marks on your offensive line. With good indications toward Mahogany so far, but still 4 question marks going forward is a big deal for a team that is built on the offensive line. On top of the fact, you did lose your offensive coordinator. I've probably put less stock in that than most people, but, again, you look at this thing, try not to be too biased, but in terms of are the Lions falling apart, again, 31-year-old left tackle, two question marks on the inside, three kind of with Frazier. Glasgow's terrible. Your offensive coordinator's gone. Your defensive coordinator's gone. You know, there is that whole question of, can we win with Jared Goff? He's one of those Kirk Cousins types of guys who looks brilliant at times, but is he ever going to be that dude that's going to win it for you? You know, the wide receiver situation. There's all this, you know, Jameson Williams this is going to be his year. This is going to be his year. This is going to be his year. It's been like 4 years now of Amon-Ra being the only guy on that offense worth a darn, right? Jameson Williams has never become that guy. Tim Patrick, give me a break. They did bring in Isaac Tesla. We'll see. He was a third-round pick. But otherwise, there's nothing here. There's never been anything here. It's a one-man show. We have an elite offensive line, and because of that, Jahmyr Gibbs can squeeze through it. I don't think Jahmyr Gibbs is anywhere near as useful without an elite offensive line. You put him behind the Packers' run-blocking offensive line, for example. I don't think Jahmyr Gibbs gives you hardly anything. Now, it's going to upset a lot of people, but Jahmyr Gibbs needs some space. He's a smaller guy. You can use him in space as a receiver, but in terms of, you know, breaking tackles, playing in December cold weather, smash mouth football, that's what David Montgomery is for, not Jahmyr Gibbs. If that offensive line falls apart and Jahmyr Gibbs becomes like Detroit always has these quick gadgety type of guys that are always running around, they never do anything, that's what he's going to become. And then you just got David Montgomery looking like he did in Chicago, who's a pretty decent guy, but he's just smashing into stuff. Yes, they both look brilliant behind that offensive line. I'm saying if it falls apart and we just lost our entire interior line and Decker is a good, you know, not elite, but good run blocker, this thing falls apart pretty quick. Because this little 1-2 punch of, hey, we've got a supremely accurate Jared Goff, we've got a tandem of running backs that are running behind maybe the best run-blocking offensive line in football, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown that we can just kind of dump it over the top. By the way, Sam Laporta, don't forget about him. But those two guys that we can kind of dump it over the top because everyone's scared to death of our offensive line. If the offensive line falls, we got a serious problem here. Yeah, I'm not trying to overreact to Frank Ragnow, but I mean, you want to talk about like a linchpin kind of a deal. It's one of those with Frank Ragnow, like, okay, Ragnow's good. Mahogany looked good. Sewell is good. Decker is good. You know, we'll see about Mahogany, but, you know, with Radledge and Frazier potentially competing for that right guard spot, I mean, if any one of them pan out, they might have 5 solid guys. Now you look at it and say, I don't know about Mahogany. I don't know if you have a center. You definitely don't have a right guard. This might be a massive step back for this offensive line. One of the best run-blocking offensive linemen in all of football was Frank Ragnow. He and Penei Sewell were way up there at the top. That is a big deal. But okay, why don't we take our final break? We'll come back and do a few calls from the Packernet After Dark phone line. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hi, Ryan. It's Randy from Minnesota.
Yo.
Just got done listening to your pods, the rants on the Bears and Caleb, and it is good to see you cleanse your soul with your feelings on this whole thing in Chicago. I mean, I could almost hear your soul being cleansed through my phone. It was just magical.
Felt good.
But anyway, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for that. And what are those two clowns that were talking about Caleb? Everything they're saying about Caleb, they will turn around and try to poo-poo Jordan Love.
Right.
It's okay for Caleb to be like this, but Jordan Love, he went downhill last year. He sucks. Packers are screwed. I just like the hypocrisy of them talking.
Well, it is funny, too, because it's like, so what are we working with here? Has either of these two demonstrated the ability in the NFL to be a high-quality quarterback? Yes, Jordan Love. Okay, what about the excuses? What excuses are there? How about the wide receivers? The Bears fans will try to say that the wide receivers are an excuse, but it's not. The fact that all these good receivers didn't play well points more poorly toward the quarterback than anything else. Jordan Love doesn't have terrible receivers, but he has 0 elite receivers and had very serious drop issues with his receivers. Did either of them have injury issues? Sometimes that can set you back. Yes, Jordan did. Do either of them have offensive line issues? Not really. Jordan certainly doesn't when it comes to pass blocking. Caleb's offensive line isn't great, but it's not terrible. And as we can see through statistics, most of the major problems that we saw as far as statistical things like sacks that he took and all that were because of Caleb. Right? There's a big gap between how good of a job did the offensive line do and how many sacks did Caleb take. You'd expect those two lines to be parallel, right? They should be roughly the same. They aren't. Most of the time when you isolate the offensive line as best as you can, you find out that the Bears' pass blocking offensive line was middle of the pack. When you look just at sacks, Caleb had suffered one of the largest amount of sacks in the NFL. So, again, on one side, you got a guy that's got some legitimate excuses, nothing dismissive for either of the guys have dismissive excuses, but you got one guy that's shown that he can do it in the NFL at a high level that didn't seem to do quite as well last year. That's becoming a big, like, how dare you say that? He was just as good. No, he wasn't. No, he was not. Well, you don't know how to, who is it? Dan Orlovsky, my favorite. If you think he regressed last year, you don't know how to watch tape. That's fine. But I know some pretty basic things that when you throw the ball and it's constantly off target and you're never using good footwork and you can't and won't use your legs, yeah, I'm sorry. He was not as good last year as he was 2 years ago. But yeah, go ahead and hang your hat on the whole tape thing. I get it. It's why I hate... I want to agree that tape is a very good way to go about things, but all the tape people are some obnoxious people that are just so unbelievably wrong about stuff. You're just very wrong about things. I can't even give you the little amount of credit that you're due because you're so unbelievably wrong. But anyways, Jordan did play worse last year than 2 years ago, and there are reasons for that. And the question is, will he get back to what he was 2 years ago? That's the question. With Caleb, that's not the question. The reality is he could not translate what he did in college, which most people said he wouldn't be able to because it's not college and a lot of that stuff just doesn't translate. And so the question is, will he ever be good or will he continue like this and just be a bust? Two very different questions, and Caleb should not be given anywhere near the amount of leeway as Jordan Love.
Is nuts. It's beyond word. But anyway, let's give 33-year-old or 32-year-old Joe Tooney another 3-year extension. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep, fixed everything.
Excited for OTAs this week. Can't wait to hear some information coming out. And this is a short call. Go Pack, go. Bye.
I'm with you, man, and I'm ready to feel it deep in my bones. You know, I'm ready to watch guys play football and just embrace all of it. We got a little bit of a break coming up. But I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready. My body is ready.
Ryan, how the heck are you? Just
Good.
Finished the Bears funny podcast. I tell you, so, I say this. I don't usually talk to W's on the internet. But I kind of got into a little one with a guy because, you know what? It is kind of fun.
It is.
He was just saying some stuff about Caleb Williams, and I'm like, bro, you say this every year. Remember last year? It was the best opportunity a rookie quarterback has ever had. Like, in the year before that, it was Fields. And he came back with how, he went on to have the best NFL season a rookie has ever had. And I was like, what are you smoking? Because if you are, can you tell me where you get it from? Because it must be really good. Because how can you say that? And I just listed a few off the top of my head. Like, I know, didn't Roethlisberger win a Super Bowl his first year? I know Brock Purdy was pretty good his first year. That's recent. C.J. Stroud was not bad his first year. Dan Marino, his first year was pretty dang good, Like, the level of delusion, it's so, it might be unprecedented. It might be the
wild.
Worst in all of sports.
I think they are just broken, is what I think it is. I don't know when exactly it happened. I don't know if Fields broke them or what happened. I've been waiting for them to break, and what I always mean by that is for them to get back to what they were when they just gave up hope, because they were a ridiculous fan base for my entire childhood up until the Packers beat them in the playoffs. Every year was their year. I mean, they were like the Cowboys. Every year's their year. They're going to the Super Bowl, and they couldn't even get to the playoffs. They had the defenses and all that stuff, so there was some reason for hope, but they had so much pride, and they were so arrogant, and they were a lot like they are today. But they had some reason to go for that. You know, they had Matt Forte and, you know, coaches that were respectable or, you know, noteworthy in some way or another. And then they lost to the Packers in the NFC Championship game, and it seems like that just broke them. And by broke them, I just mean like they stopped playing that game and accepted the fact that they sucked. And Fields came around, and it changed everything, and it revived them back to what they were. Every year's their year. Here we go. It's our year this year. And I'm like, what is it going to take to break them again? I kind of think they're broken. Maybe just in like a weird, more psychotic way. It's not like an emotional break as much as it's like a psychotic break. Because they're going crazy. Watching them online right now, pump up Caleb. Maybe it was the fact that Caleb was bad. I don't exactly know, but the fact that they're pumping up Caleb because of low interception numbers and are trying to convince themselves that he had a historically good rookie season, it's borderline. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You know, and it's on one end, it's fun to do, you know, poke at dumb people, you know. I feel it's like you're the grown man, like arm wrestling a 10-year-old girl, and every once in a while you let her think she's gonna win, but you know that you have like 99% of your strength just waiting to be tapped into. You know, or like when a cat like catches a mouse and it kind of mortally wounds it, right?
Yeah.
And then before it dies or he finishes off, you just kind of bat the mouse around for like 20 minutes, right? That's what arguing with the Bears fan is like. It's horrible, but it's kind of fun, you know? But I don't know. The level of delusion is so bad that I can't. He made other comments that I was like, dude, and I even reminded him about the Tucker Ross podcast where he basically said, you're probably not going to be there in a couple of years. You can't read defenses. He relies on his arm too much. You get sacked too much. And he doesn't, they never comment on what you say.
Yeah.
They only comment on their thing.
Well, they can't see or hear things that are outside of their reality. So it's like you didn't say it.
Yes, okay. But everyone says he sucks. No one says that. Well, no, a lot of people have said that.
I literally am saying it right now.
It's fun. I see why you like it. I can't do it all the time, though, because it kind of I feel too mean. But, hey, go Pack go. Here's to Caleb Williams looking like a large dumpster fire of dog doo-doo next year.
Well, and I wish it was a little bit more like that, or at least that I felt that way, because for me, what I can't handle is the gaslighting. You will be, it's sort of like having a younger sibling where, you know, you are wrestling them and you're trying to be nice, you're trying to be gentle, you're trying to take it easy, and they're like throwing full-blown punches at you and whatever. It's like, all right, I'm going to hit you a little bit hard now to kind of put them in their place. And the more you do, the more they just keep coming at you with, that didn't hurt, I'm going to kill you. You know what I mean? Like they keep coming, and it's like, I don't want to keep applying more force here, but I can't, you're not letting me stop right now. And they're constantly of the belief, as they're on the ground covered in blood, that they're winning the fight, that you hit like a girl, that, you know, and it's just, and then they go out and get their friends, and then they pile on, and it's like 20 guys that you're bludgeoning at once, and they're all laying on the ground bleeding, laughing at you, saying, ha, you hit like a girl, it doesn't even hurt. After they freaking wake up from being knocked unconscious, they immediately start laughing and pointing at you and saying, and they come over and start punching you, and you knock them down, and they say, that didn't hurt, and you didn't knock me down, I tripped. And every once in a while, they'll catch you with your guard down, and they'll you know, sneak one in there, and they'll pop you in the chin, and then that's all they want to talk about. Remember when Frank hit you, though? Remember when Frank hit you, though? Frank he hit you. Remember when Frank hit you? And it's like, I have gained no ground here. I'm fighting 20 people, I'm winning, but 20 out of 21 people in this group, meaning them and me, are of the opinion, almost unanimously, that I am losing. I haven't said a single thing that's wrong. I'm correct in everything I've said. They're complete idiots. But I mean, there's no panel here to judge this. It's just me and 20 Bears fans insisting that everything I've said is wrong and stupid, and I'm an idiot, and I'm biased, and I'm a Packers, and I'm rent-free, and the whole, and it's like, what? So it feels good to a point, but you gotta stick and move, Treat it like boxing, stick and move, and Biggie Smalls. But I'm excited. We got a big, long season ahead of us of making fun of the NFC North. Again, I really hope, there's a scenario that sucks. There's a scenario that's perfect. The bottom line is, though, there is a perfect storm scenario that can happen this year that maybe has not happened ever, because we've got Bears fans in peak delusion. They're just coasting along and they're crazy. Vikings fans and Lions fans have not really been in a zone a little bit. When they started getting super cocky, it was like, all right, we gotta, this is becoming a problem. But you can't really say too much back other than screw you, crazy. Like, I know you're better than me, but still, shut up. If the Lions fall off, even just below where the Packers are, they're not going to handle that very well. So you got the Bears crazy, the Lions possibly in a perfect storm of just hell, where, they open their mouths real wide and talked a whole lot of crap, and now they're not exactly what they thought. And Vikings fans, again, I'm starting to see from what I thought was a pretty rash, you had Lions fans that were very quiet and timid and meek. At least people in Michigan will tell you that's not the truth. But outside of Michigan, we never saw anything other than that. It was just kind of a, ha ha, yeah, we're bad, we know. And if those big mouths go from meek to loudmouths, but they earned it, to loudmouths, but now they're not even as good as they, in the NFC North, not as good as the Packers anymore, so that we can at least talk trash and tell them to shut their mouths. And then Vikings fans who've always been kind of, like I said, like Packers fans, where they're rational to the point of maybe being a little more negative than they should be, they're starting to go crazy with McCarthy. If they turn into Bears fans and Lions fans are just in a freaking spiral because they're so angry that their team is falling apart, I mean, it could be a perfect season. We got to obviously have the Packers playing well, but if they could just, stay out in front of the division as the Lions fall apart, McCarthy doesn't look good, and that's really what I'm asking for. If the Packers are better than the Lions, and J.J. McCarthy and Caleb Williams are still bad, I'm calling it a perfect season. Obviously, in terms of within the realm of what I'm talking about. I know a perfect season is Super Bowl. I know. That's I'm talking about something else. In terms of this podcast and talking trash to our rivals, that's perfection. But I'm going to leave you guys with that. Have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tomorrow. Be sure to check out first of all, PackersGames.com, back online, and DraftFlix.com. Not too much going on at Packers Games. I'm still trying to think of what to do next with that. And DraftFlix is a little bit usable, not a ton, but it's more of just sort of a go play around with it and see what you think. If you want to help out with either of them, let me know. I don't really have a lot of jobs. I mean, DraftFlix I do, Content Hunter and whatnot. But otherwise, once I get those settled, might just be moving on to project number 3. But you guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.